Christ did not die to make good works merely possible or to produce a half-hearted pursuit. He died to produce in us a passion for good deeds. Christian purity is not the mere avoidance of evil, but the pursuit of good. The Passion of the Christ is one of the most successful movies ever made, and now, finally, we are getting a second movie after years of waiting. Stay with me until the end, as I have some really interesting news to share with you. Now, let's start with a short recap. As mentioned before, the 2004 Passion of the Christ is one of the highest-grossing R-rated movies of all time. Understandably, a movie like this didn't go without its controversies. Soon after it was released, the movie was accused of anti-Semitism and having too much violence. The well-known movie critic Roger Ebert called it, quote, the most violent film he has ever seen. Years after The Passion of the Christ was released, the main star of the movie, Jim Caviezel, had trouble finding work, despite starring in the lead role in a massively grossing hit movie. Staying prominently in the world of religious entertainment, he's made appearances in several movies and TV shows over the years. His filmography includes such religious projects as Kings of the Grail and Paul. Well, anyway, let's get back to the 2004 movie. If we could pick a title, this would have been Mel Gibson's The Passion of the Christ. The movie is 126 minutes long, and let me tell you, at least 100 of those minutes are concerned graphically and specifically with the details of the torture and death of Jesus. The movie is extremely violent, but it's trying to present the real picture of all the historical events. Either way, the critics were clear. The movie was technically proficient and ambitious, but turns out to be an incredibly obtuse piece of macho masochism, very moderately acted and overlooking Jesus' message of love. Let's not even talk about his human complexity in favor of a bizarre makeup bloodbath and making those prosthetic wounds scream ridiculous fakeness to the very heavens. Gibson has provided us with a visceral idea of what the Passion consisted of. In terms of the surrounding message, his movie is superficial. I can definitely say that the teachings of Jesus are not in the first place in this movie. This is not a sermon or a homily. It's a take it or leave it. Even David Ansen thinks that Gibson had gone too far. Quote, the relentless gore is self-defeating. Instead of being moved by Christ's suffering or awed by his sacrifice, I felt abused by a filmmaker intent on punishing an audience for who knows what sins, he wrote for Newsweek. And I would say this is a valid response to the movie. So again, if you decide to watch this movie, prepare for the cruelty of the sadistic centurions, flayings, beatings, whippings, the agony of screams, the crunch of bones, and the rivulets of blood that crisscross every inch of Jesus' body. This movie is nothing like those Hollywood biblical epics of the 1950s. However, even in this movie, the message of Jesus was equally threatening to both the Roman Empire and the Jewish priests, who preached a new covenant and threatened the status quo. So, Caiaphas, the Jewish high priest, and Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor, are the two main players in the scenes showing Jesus being condemned to death. Before finally washing his hands of the matter and turning Jesus over to the priests, Pilate is hitting that like button just like you should do if you haven't done so already. Nah, really. Pilate is seen going through his well-known doubts, but Caiaphas, who also had doubts, wasn't presented sympathetically. In a useful analysis of the movie, the critic Stephen D. Gradinus would say, quote, the film omits the canonical line from John's Gospel, in which Caiaphas argues that it is better for one man to die for the people so that the nation is saved. But enough about Gibson's movie. Now, let's talk about the release date of Passion of the Christ: Resurrection. Biblical movies used to make a killing at the box office in places all around the world. And even now, during Christian religious holidays, The Ten Commandments, starring Charlton Heston, still sees airplay. While we're talking about Gibson's movie, we should also mention it had a budget of a mere $30 million, but grossed more than $600 million worldwide, which is amazing. Jim Caviezel might return for this new movie to reprise his role as well. In his most recent interview, the actor said, quote, Mel Gibson just sent me the third picture, the third draft. It's coming. Having said that, we know Gibson is presently working on the script, and who knows how many different iterations the script will go through. But we know one thing. This movie will be released on June 16th, 2023. Yeah, that's right. We've got the exact date of release. I bet you didn't expect that coming. So, what about the cast? As I said before, Jim Caviezel might come back to take on the role of Jesus. No official confirmations have been made, but there are some rumors saying that other cast members from the original 2004 film are expected to return. Let's take Maia Morgenstern, for example, in the role of the Mother of Jesus, and maybe even Christo Jivkov and Francesco DeVito in the role of John and Peter. With Gibson still working on the screenplay, cast details are still heavily under wraps, so it's possible for some characters to be added or taken away as time goes on. Monica Bellucci as Mary Magdalene is another potential cast member who could return for Resurrection. And who knows, maybe even Hristo Naumov-Shopov as Pontius Pilate. I guess we'll find out very soon. Now, the most important question, the plot. Before I start with that, however, I do just want to mention a few events that happened during the filming of the previous movie. Did you know that Caviezel got struck by lightning during the filming? Lightning strikes roughly 240,000 people per year, according to some studies, which is fairly rare. But it happened 3 times during the filming of the movie. Jim Caviezel said that it, quote, lit up like a Christmas tree. I knew it was going to hit me about 4 seconds before it happened. I thought, I'm gonna get hit. And when it happened, I saw the extras grab the ground, said the actor for the 700 Club. Not everyone who worked on the set was religious folk, but most people were affected in one way or another, Jim said. While focusing on Jesus, the original Passion of the Christ was a gritty tale that put the deity within the real world of the time. The storytelling of Mel Gibson has smashed that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. Not really. In all seriousness now, the storytelling of Mel Gibson has been less than stellar, especially when it comes to historical cinema. He goes over historical accuracy for cinematic brilliance. It works out many times, no doubt about that, so we should expect a biblical tale in the second movie. I can't tell you that right now. A lot of speculation is surrounding the plot of the second movie. Based on the activity of the first movie, the following of Jesus while he makes his way to the cross, it's very likely that we'll see something different in the second movie, meaning not exactly what is written in the Bible itself. It is very possible that we'll see the story of Christ's resurrection and the impact it had on the people of the time. On the other hand, Gibson said that Passion of the Christ 2 will take place more in the spiritual realms between resurrection and death. Quote, it's a tall order. It's a vast theological experience. It gets pretty wild. It's an acid trip. It's never ending. It keeps revealing itself more and more the further you get into it. Everything from the fall of the angels to, it's just crazy. It opens up all these channels. I really enjoy these movies, and I really hope there won't be a shuffle in the release date. And what about you? What do you think should be the main focus of the plot? Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.